Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to the live stream. It's been a while. Hope you're all doing well. Okay, this is part two. We are gonna go over the logo selection and then share a bit about expanding that brand into social media assets. And we're gonna dive a little bit into layout design, and we're gonna play around with Figma's new feature, variables, and we'll keep it at that. We'll keep it nice and short. All right. So without further ado, let's go for it into Figma. So it's just me today. And yeah, let's just go with it. This is Brand in Progress, and it's not scripted. I've been working with Brandon and Eric on these. This is where we kind of left off, different exploration and art direction for the logo. And I was kind of feeling something minimal, like a circle and just this line, and it's kind of neat. So we're trying to look into different variations, whether it's just stroke or complete fill. I was kind of really liking this bar, this spectrum bar, and yeah, just kind of exploring different ways on how to do that. I was liking this too, but then the thing about this is it's not fully symmetrical in terms of vertical and horizontal height. So anyways, what we kind of came up with was I was looking at all these different directions, and the most common and simple element was the spectrum bar itself. So I chatted with Eric and Brandon, and I just thought, you know what? Why not just go with this? Really simple. And it's kind of bold because, as a designer, you'd probably expect to do something fancy and really, like very, very complex. But I like this. It's just a rectangle, and that's what we do is draw rectangles, and there's simplicity into it. And I think using this as the main brand element, and if we have sub brands, like, we can add in other geometric shapes, things like that. So yeah, that's kind of what we're working with right now. Playing with the type. We're using the Futura Condense. If you guys are familiar with this is the font that Nike uses. But it's interesting. You don't really quite notice it with the Digital Third. And so I am really digging into this like athlete sports mentality into design. So I kind of like that sporty edge, but it kind of stands on its own. So so we're trying to incorporate the prism bar in the lockup. So that's the update there. These are the colors that make up the spectrum, and it's really nice. It's very, very vibrant. And right now, what I'm looking for in terms of a backdrop, whether we use it for like a website, wireframe, is really just a simple backdrop of either white or black. No other secondary colors in the backdrop, so it's really nice, and I think it stands out well. That prism color stands out either in a black or white. So that's where we're at so far. These are just some ways to explore how this pops up into like social media profiles. And just exploring what that looks like for Instagram posts, like a square layout. For those who are watching, welcome. Feel free to ask some questions along the way. It's just really exploring along. Okay, so with that, I have been going over here. I was trying to print some stickers for config. For those who went to config, hope you guys had fun. But unfortunately, I didn't have time to do that. But I think even with this prism, we're looking into, printing holographic stickers, things like that. It's pretty cool. So let me know what you think about this selection on the logo. So without further ado, I'm going to go over to YouTube thumbnail assets and how does that play into it. I'll just show you some early exploration, and then how this can be applied to Twitter header, the profile, Instagram post or story. And then I've been playing around with like live stream assets, because right now you can see This is just a default that I just kind of threw together. And I want to put something together that's more cohesive. So something interesting I've been wanting to break down into terms of YouTube thumbnail images. It consists of a main title image, some subtitle of some sort, and program icons, right? So if I'm giving a live stream tutorial on Figma or Webflow or some random other programs, we can just put their icons in there, and then the dates, so more content details. Content format, this is kind of probably unique to what I'm doing because I want to explore different segments. So whether it's a live stream or an interview or a speed build, I hope Adam doesn't mind if he watches this, that I use this image, or a demo. So, and they're also represented by the varying colors of the spectrum. So I thought that was neat. I'm going to have some other friends come on here into the stream down the road to give a critique. I think one feedback was, this is great, it's cool, it stands out, but where is the consistency of this spectrum in there? So I think maybe if we just tie it in the bottom left, then it kind of ties in. So yeah, so this column here is just an exploration of what that looks like in a very bright and vibrant layout. You know, the typical YouTube thumbnails, things like that. This is very Mr. Beast style, just testing that out. It's very attention grabbing, and it fits with, you know, what's out there, but I think this is a little bit different, it's unique. What I'm thinking of is kind of going this center column with the colored title, because that kind of grabs your attention. So in terms of breaking down, you know, visual hierarchy, you kind of want to look at this first, and then secondary to that, maybe this too, like the type of content's live, and then next is the image, followed by the subheading or subtitle, and then the dates. So again, these are all assumptions. You just got to throw it out into the world and see if it sticks and see if it works. But I think it's unique because of this. If I go with this monochrome vibe with the colored title, it does stand out if, you know, you compare it to the sea of other bright colored thumbnails on YouTube. Yeah, it's just studying the greats here. So I noticed that there's always, number one, a main title, followed by a main image, and then this is Webflow, some of their live streams. Then they have their logo always somewhere on the bottom left mostly. So that's really interesting. And then live stream, that's kind of like the segment type or content type. So that's my breakdown for that. This is just more thumbnails. Again, title, some type of image. This is a subtitle, logo, segment type, and then more details, content details. So that's really interesting. You look at Flux Academy, and all right, Levi, good to see you, man. Welcome. Hope you're enjoying this. Yeah, I'm looking at Ran Segal. He's got just a bunch of different styles. I mean, you look at just this is Kabarza, and then you got a title. So maybe you don't need a lot of information. You just need like a lot of strong imagery. I noticed that he does this really bright border. Again, it's all about just catching attention. It's my boy, Devin Fountain. So yeah, maybe that works too, right? It's very interesting. I think it all depends. This is tricky. Like thumbnail design is it's a whole beast on its own. And then you look at Figma, very simple, and it's bold. All it is a title, and maybe at most some like whatever, yeah, a small detail like content type, which is hashtag Figma tips, and their logo. Yeah, Levi, if you have any questions, hit me up. I'll try to answer them. Same with this one. This is probably one thumbnail that has the most detail. Again, always has the title and then an image followed by a subtitle. And then you look at the future, and it's just so different every time, but I love it. It's great. And obviously he's a master at it. He's been doing it for a while. Sometimes you just want like big images. It captures the emotions. It's kind of pulling you in. It's intriguing. Huge emphasis on the title. He uses this condense type. I do believe maybe it's Futura as well. I assume so, because that's what his whole brand's all about. Yeah, so interesting. Those are kind of just things I've found out and broke down. But I think for me, I need to establish my brand. So what's the consistent look? Maybe it's the title at the top, right? And then the bottom, that's always different, or that's always the same. But then the images can be different, right? This can be an interview style. And it's nice. I like how I designed this. When I want to add a new guest, I just go copy and paste. I can add a fourth, or I can just delete it, or I can delete it again. So that's really nice. That's with using auto layout. So that's cool. You can do a single image, 2 or 3 guests, or just do something really creative, and it all fits in this rectangle, which is a cool, like a landscape layout. So that's something what I'm playing with. Yeah. So what else can I show you? Okay, now this is the fun little experiment that I've been playing with Figma variables. I'll show you how it works and how I set it up. All right, let's get rid of this first. Boom. All right, so these are modes that I've set up. These frames they have a preset conditions or rules assigned to them. So this is and it basically manipulates the dimensions using numbers, colors, and some booleans for conditional visibility. So as I move it over, it just automatically adjusts to this and to dark mode. So it's really cool. And the good thing about this is, let me drag this back here. If I just make instances, this is essentially referencing, they're all instances of a single master component, which is this one here. And the benefit to that is if I want to change the title, view title, it automatically updates right away. So you just design once, export multiple times, which is great. Same with this too. Subtitle. So it's really nice. Okay, so how do I set this up here? Dylan Herricks, good to see ya. All right. You go over here. This is I hope you guys can see this. How do I zoom in here? Can I zoom in? Oh boy. This might be hard to see, guys, on the live stream. Let's see. How to zoom? I cannot. Okay, well, hopefully it's visible for you guys, but I created a new collection here, and they consist of number variables here, and then there's 2 booleans, and then there's some color here. And so what I've done, in each column, these are the different modes. So there's YouTube mode, there's IG post mode, that's IG story, and dark mode. And so with each one, I have assigned an asset width. So basically it's just the width of the whole frame. I have the height, and then I have global vertical padding, which is essentially this space here and like the top and bottom space. And then global horizontal padding, which is the padding on the side, giving that pixel dimension. And then the space between. So you'll see. As I tweak it and increase it, it's the space in between these elements here. And then the tag width, this is just essentially the width of this element. So what I'm doing is I'm creating these properties of widths and then I'm then binding it to the actual element. So how I do that is, let's say for asset width, I just select on this, and then over here on the width, I just, this drop down, you click apply variable, and then you just select which one to bind, which property to bind the width to. And that's that. And then you do the same thing for height. And then for the padding, which is this, right? Let's see if I can adjust it. So this padding, if I just bind that to global horizontal padding, boom, it anchors that in. And you do the same for vertical padding. And then the in-between, let's see, if I select in here, here's the in-between, right? I can always adjust it. Oops, that's a little different. But it's essentially you just assign that variable to the space in between. And then it's really that easy. And then basically with these different frames, you can then, so let me show you here. If I create a new frame. All right. And then now you have this, how do I do this here? It's been a while. I'm still pretty fresh with this, so forgive me if I don't know it too well. Do I have to assign something in here? Okay. I think once you have an element that has a variable in it, then the frame outside, you have this little icon here. It says layers. So now you select it, and then it shows the different modes. So YouTube, IG post, IG story, or dark mode. So it's asking you like which predefined mode that has all these conditions set do you want to define this or bind this frame to. So if I want to change, see right now this layout is the YouTube layout, and if I want to change it to IG story, I just click on it and boom, it automatically fix the conditions, and then the elements inside will just inherit the rules within the frame, if that makes sense. If I change this now to IG post, then again it'll inherit the properties for the IG post or dark mode. If I click on that, so that's really cool. Of course, I've kind of created the frames in like a boundary, but you don't really have to. You can just, let's see here. You can just drag this out and then select the frame itself, I believe, yes, to then change it. So then it doesn't sit inside this like larger frame, if that makes sense. In dark mode. So that's essentially how that works. Pretty cool. Okay, Boolean. The Boolean is, from my experience right now, it's used for conditional visibility. So essentially what I've done is I have, for these images, there's a horizontal layout, and then there's a vertical layout. And they are essentially two different elements. And you'll see here, I've created two of them here. And so, okay. I'll select this element, and then I will, let me detach it. In this is tricky. This little eyeball here, you can make it visible, turn on and off visibility. You right click it, and then you can then assign the Boolean property to it. So horizontal image layout, it's true. So if it's true, it means it will remain visible. So yes, that's what I'm gonna do. And then I select this one here, this vertical layout, and I want it to be not visible. And in this case, in this YouTube mode, the Boolean is turned off. So that means the visibility will be off. So then I'll have to right click, then select vertical image layout, which it says false, and it should disappear. Boom, because it's assigned, and now it automatically applies the invisible mode. So that's how that works. And again, once you drag it over to this mode, this frame, it'll apply that rule. So I hope that makes sense. That's pretty powerful, because essentially you can have like a really big design with all these different elements, and you can choose to turn it on and off depending on the type of layout you want. Background color, again, really simple. All you're doing is you select it and then you bind the properties. So all these, the background color is going to be white for both YouTube, IG post, and the story. But then if I want a dark mode, I want it to be black. So then I assign that here with black. And how I bind it is I just go over here. I go to fill, and how do I do it again? Libraries? Ah, okay. So instead of custom, you go to libraries and then you select here. Fun fact, you'll notice that if it's a square color versus a circle, circles are styles, right? Which consist of multiple properties or values, whereas the square is a variable. So that's how you distinguish the two. So once you select on this, it'll bind it, boom. And then now, the cool thing about all this binding is if you want to change it in the variable table, it'll automatically change. So that is the power of basically design systems and all that. Yeah. And the same applies to the dark mode. If I want to make it red mode or green mode, then it applies. So that's really cool. All right. So that takes care of the colors. And then, yeah, you can apply the text, the colors of the text as well. So that's interesting. That's an interesting use case for variables with social media assets. I tried doing the old school way without variables and creating like certain profile images and creating components, and then referencing them into these different templates. So basically you can change the title in here and it'll apply. That works. It works well. The good thing about this is once you reference it over, you could change the font height or font size. And if you make changes to this, it applies and it maintains the text height and text size. So that's kind of good about that. But I feel like maybe the way to go is to use variables, because I think once you apply that, you can also change the height of the text here. Let's say I want to do that. And I go to the master component and change it to demo, and it works as well. And it maintains all the connections. So yeah, that's all I got so far. Still playing around. I am trying to apply variables to Realm components to see how we could define the height and the width and try to make it more mobile friendly, just the same way as I'm kind of changing this landscape layout to a vertical layout. So yeah, that's my update so far. Let me know what you guys think. I'm going to wrap up this stream. Nice, quick, and short. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. But essentially, I'm just documenting my process here. And letting you guys in on the ride. So this is such a depressing track. All right, guys. It's this is challenging. This is fun. I hope you're enjoying it. Like just putting myself out there live, not being fully prepared. It's a fun experiment, but I hope you're getting some value out of it. So I'll tune in again. Go live next week. I'm gonna try to bring more guests in to maybe do poster design, because that's a good way to show how a brand it fits in a poster, and you kind of go over the fundamentals of what we were going over with like layout, hierarchy, and see if the colors, the brand elements are all cohesive. So I think that's a good exercise to explore. And then maybe, we'll finally go into a stylescape. I'll share with you how I do that. How do I define user personas? And then finally get to a landing page design, which will dive into Reloom components and show you how to build really quickly. All right. Okay, that's enough. Have a good one, guys. Take care.